Hi guys, so in the iPad Pro series, or the iPad series that I've been doing, we've talked about how to use the iPad Pro as a second display and how to control a main computer DAW over Wi-Fi. So the next thing we're going to do is look at DAWs themselves on a standalone iPad. So we're going to start off with Garageband. It's free and it may not be the most professional, but it's genuinely useful and I'll show you how. So the first thing to do is get yourself Garageband on your iPad. It's free in the App Store, so you find it, App Store, Garageband. Downloading will take a while because it's big. But when you do, open up Garageband and then you should, by default, come to the My Song setup. Now, I have found that Garageband is pretty good if I'm on the road, if I'm out and I've got a spare hour somewhere, I'm waiting for something to happen. It's great for getting an idea out of my head and onto what is the audio equivalent of a piece of paper. I'm not a very good lyricist, but musically I have these ideas. They come to me, and before I can get a tape machine and DAW, write it all down, get it recorded as a rough idea, it's gone. So, and I find that just getting a dictaphone or recording app on your iPhone and just going na 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 doesn't capture that inspiration. It's not enough for me to then listen back and then think this is worth doing. Let's develop this. So, Garageband as a writing tool, I'm finding it's quite useful. So from the start, let's go to music. I've made a music folder, Garageband, and it comes up with this, which we can look at and go, okay, so new song in the top left corner. You get a choice of either tracks or live loops. I'm not a big fan of the idea of live loops because as much as you can arrange this bit here, that bit there, let's be honest, someone else has written this. Like if I bring up house music, this has brought up something, I didn't make any of this, I hit play. I didn't decide what key this was in, what speed it was. If I just click on some buttons, I didn't write that. So let's go back to my songs and just get rid of this, because as much as I'm sure that's fun, how inspiring can it be? Because I want you to talk to me in the comments about this. How inspiring can that be? Because someone's already made it. How are you going to change that into something new? So let's move on to the more useful side of this, and that's the tracks rather than live loops side. So this is going to start us off with an entirely empty setup. Now I've not used the drummer part yet because that is literally new this week. So let's just start with, I don't know. The smart instruments can be quite useful. Let's start with a smart keyboard. So if I touch the screen, I can go and just tap out different parts of a chord. Now, if you're not a keyboard player by trade, if it's not something you've ever done before, hey, this could be quite useful for you. One of the things that everyone misses when they're just hammering things out in Garageband is this little spanner icon in the corner. You can change most of the things up here. Now if I change my tempo, so let's tap out 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4, and that's 126 BPM. The key of this song is apparently C major, so that's not what I want. Let's go for E flat minor. So that's going to change the feel. The time signatures, the only choices you get are 4/4, 3/4 and 6/8. You can chop bars up, but polyrhythms and multiple odd time signatures is not GarageBand's thing at all. So sorry to the progressive gent crowd, this isn't really for that. We'll get into the kind of deeper stuff with some of the other DAWs that I'm going to look at, but say... Right, so let's use this. Now if I just hit record and follow my... Right, one thing that I should mention is this is going to confuse the hell out of me because when I'm recording this through the Mac there is a delay on the audio, so playing things in is going to throw me right off. But if I just play this back now, that's accidentally made me an entirely new rhythm. Right, so that's slightly off, but in the fade a little tab up next to the spanner, I can add a little echo, add a little reverb. There's treble and bass EQs there. Oh, there's a compressor, that's new, I'm sure. There's quantize, so I can quantize this to say 16ths now. And just hit play and see how close this gets. Considering how sloppy my playing was because of that delay then, I think that's pretty useful. Now let's go, the top left is where you'll find this view, where you can see each instrument. So if I hit plus, add an instrument, that will come up there. Now let's add, apparently he's called Kyle. Now let's just not add too many fills. Plenty of kick and snare. Ooh, follow grand piano. Let's see how this works. You know what, I think I'm going to use this a lot because I would never use a drum pattern really that I would program in with my fingers in a final mix, but what it would do for me is save a lot of time in getting a rough kind of feel, and then when I'm in the studio I would just put the click on, knock off the drum track and play it through several times until I got the feel of the song back. But let's have a listen to this. Considering again that the piano is a bit sloppy, I'm pretty happy with that. So let's just add another new instrument. Smart bass. Now this is all based on chords. There's a little switch. If I go from chords to notes, any guitarist or bass player can suddenly see that everything's right there, which is pretty useful. So if we're in E flat minor, then why the hell is A flat? Because that's the fret above A. So that was absolutely awful, but if I didn't have that horrible lag there, I could probably get that a little smoother. But even so, I can just compress this, add more bass, quantize that to 1/8 notes, and hopefully that'll straighten out and sound a bit less awful. Right, so that's completely not right. But if I look at the ends of these bars, what I can do, as you can see on the screen, is I can just remove one bar and then move the entire thing over so that it starts at exactly the right time. He says, there, 2, 3, and. And the point of this video really is that I've thrown this little idea together in 5 minutes, 8 minutes, and this is while I'm trying to talk to you and actually demo the product as well, so it's not as if I've put any creative, real thought into this. The last thing to mention is that something that I didn't like originally, but I'm getting used to, is that Garageband, although hey, the two aren't that different, works in blocks. So this is the first section of the song. Now let's have a look. Where do I find? This is Merge Recordings. Somewhere around here is the little plus button up there. Nope, this is, yeah, it's this tiny little plus button. So we're in section A, which is an 8-bar loop. But now I can add a new section and keep adding sections, and I can change the number of bars. So maybe if I wanted a 4-bar fill, then I can just change a section. You can duplicate sections and then modify one. You can then chop and change your entire song this way, which I at first thought was a bit of a kind of laboured, roundabout way of doing things. But I found that it actually kind of freed me up to think about each section separately, and then if I wanted to make a little custom section, I could then go in and really hit the detail. Now each one of these sections has now come up, and if I hit all sections, then I get the entire song. So here's one I prepared earlier. This one's kind of electronic-y, kind of progressive, but you can see on the screen straight away that this is far more complex than the previous track. But all it is I started off with a bass line which I automated and spent some time tapping in a drum part until it felt kind of right, rather than using the automated system which is now available. But I made this track last month before that came out. And then I got the timing of the echo and the reverb right, and then played around with a few tracks and made something that's got quite a lot of detail going on. Now you can record real audio tracks in. I was tempted to try and mumble something about kind of a vocal with some headphones in and just get a vocal down, but I couldn't think of any words at the time, so instead I just added a synth that was almost vocal-ish and then used that as a template. That's worked quite well for me for a template, and that has put me a demo song together, and that must have taken 3 or 4 hours. I've never claimed to be a songwriter. I'm a mix engineer and a producer, so writing my own stuff, having found it quite difficult, this has liberated me in quite a lot of ways, that I can get away from the studio, maybe sit somewhere inspiring, do the whole kind of pretentious coffee shop thing, or maybe sit in a field and program some sounds out. And for me, I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't use this as an output on a CD as a final release, but when I get back to the studio, if I'm happy with the structure of a song, if I'm happy with the key, what instruments should be played, the speed, the feel, I can then go in, set the clip going with this as a backing track, and start to play in songs properly, knowing in my head that the next section coming up is set in stone and that I'm not just going to fall apart at the end of the bar. And hopefully this helps you with your songwriting. I mean, the next stage is a fully fledged DAW. So what we're going to do in the next video is I'm going to get my RME Babyface out and then connect that to the iPad. And we're going to use either Aurea or Cubasis, and I've not quite decided which one to get because they're £40 each, which is a lot for an app, but if you're going to use it as a professional, it should pay for itself pretty quickly. Hit like if you liked the content of the video. Sorry, it was quite a long one. Please subscribe if you want to look at more iPad stuff. Have a look at the iPad versus the Mac versus PC debate that I seem to have sparked a bit more argument. It's an age-old debate. And let me know in the comments below if there's anything else you want to see. Thanks for watching. I've been Adam Steele for The Hot Poll.